Welcome viewers. On behalf of Iravati Research and Communication Center or IRCC, I am your host Pratim Ranjan Bose. In this episode, we will discuss about the real estate sector reforms, namely the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act or RERA of 2016. We would like to know the ground changes this reform has brought about in last 7 years and the ways to make the reform more effective. I have with me Abhay Upadhyay, a Kolkata-based businessman turned nationally recognized voice behind this reform. He is founder-president of Forum for People's Collective Effort, which is fighting for the cause of homebuyers and RERA. I know Abhay for more than a decade. His plight as a homebuyer of Kolkata-based international city, that was, if I remember correctly, was India's first real estate FDI project. So his experiences as a home buyer and his frustrations have accidentally pushed him into activism. Fortunately for India, Abhay did not stop there. After resolving issues with his builder, he and his associates built a national movement for RERA. The RERA bill was originally introduced by the Congress-led UPA government in 2013, and it went into cold storage from there on. The Narendra Modi-led BJP reintroduced the bill with a series of amendments in 2015. However, it was facing severe resistance from the opposition. Abhay and his team really moved mountains to bring everyone on board and contributed in drafting the bill. His fight was hardly over with the passage of RERA Act. Very recently, Supreme Court forced the West Bengal government to introduce the central reforms based on a petition by Abhay's FCPE. Real estate contributes 7% of India's GDP. In some states, the contribution is way higher, and it generates huge employment. Typical to Indian Constitution, land management and building constructions are under the purview of the state governments. However, Centre has some superseding powers in case of land. Before RERA, different states had different rules for real estate. Even the pricing mechanism was not comparable. If not lack of, there was a lot of transparency issues in the pricing. RERA brought the whole sector under a pan-Indian code of conduct and introduced dedicated dispute settlement windows. States are responsible for appointing the state-level regulator and implementing the reform on ground. With that background, let me turn to Abhay. Abhay, 7 years have gone by since RERA was passed. What has changed in the real estate sector? Which states are showing greater intent to implement the reform, and which states are laggards? Over to you.
First of all, very thank you to you for such a great introduction. I don't think I have done so much of a work. And since you know me for more than a decade, we have been involved since my Kolkata West days. So it is good that we are today discussing on RERA. So coming back to on your question directly, that what has changed? See, Pratim, you will agree that if there is a law, the changes are bound to happen. So earlier, pre-RERA, there was no law which specifically catered to the requirement, needs, and arrangements which were there in real estate sector. Now, RERA came and it is specifically treating the sector. And there are some issues, like there was a one-sided agreement, then diversion of funds, then there was a dispute redressal mechanism, which was a very long drawn, because if you had, their only main option was consumer forum, which was from district to state to national to Supreme Court. So it was quite a long run process. And now that has been reduced with RERA coming into force, because you have to go to RERA, then appellate tribunal, High Court and Supreme Court. And if you go to appellate tribunal also, so more or less now within 2 years, you are getting your order, including from the tribunal on an average, not from all, but on an average from 2 years, which is quite a short time. But if you see, and as you know, if there is a law, there are bound people are 70%, 80% people will follow that. Maybe 20% will not, 30% will not, but 20, 30% will, 70, 80% will follow that. So now this has definitely brought a change in the system. People are now, there are two ways of looking at it. Number one, if you see the bird's eye view means that if you see from top, definitely this is broad changes. People are now aware of RERA. There is an advertisement, there is a narrative going on that, RERA hai to Vishwas hai. So people are believing in that. And obviously it is a law of the land. People must trust that. And that is why if you see the confidence has come in this sector, not to the extent which we were expecting, but definitely much more than what it was pre-RERA.
I believe there has also been a very qualitative change. For example, the hallmark on gold tells you about, gives you some kind of assurance. So now people think that if it is a RERA approved project, so then there is a assurance of some kind of delivery of the builder, from the builder. Now it is about you, we will later discuss whether that is happening. So please go on.
So now that is one, that it has brought changes. People are having more confidence in this sector because they feel that now project is RERA registered. That means the builder is not only giving you some document, they're also giving with regard to projects some document to authorities, which is a government quasi-judicial body. So that confidence has come. Now if you deep dive into it, so you will see, and then you ask this question whether RERA has made any changes, how much it has met our expectation. So I will not like to give more than 5 marks to out of a 10 to RERA because there are still issues. Yeah.
I will come to the problem part later on. So first, what are the changes that has already been in place? One is there is a regulator. Second is, so you have a dedicated legal window to settle cases. And you just said that the disposal on the part of RERA and the appellate authority has been pretty fast, 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's
on an average.
On average. That's a major change because consumer court started with a great promise that it will give time-bound justice, but it didn't happen so. Later on, cases kept dragging on. I have personal experience. And let's
just to add one more thing, if you go to NCDRC, there was a time, I think that's still there, that dates between lag between two dates was more than a year. So you can understand how long it was a process because the case will ultimately go to NCDRC.
Right.
So that is why that was the time lag.
So the consumer court has gone the way criminal or civil courts have gone. I'm witness to a police complaint. I'm just a witness, right? For last 7 years, I've gone there for 8 times. And my witness couldn't be taken. Sometimes the judge comes, sometimes he doesn't come, and a lot of things. So back to the topic here, you are saying that there has been a first case of quick delivery of quick disposal of complaints on the part of RERA court and the appellate court. And then you are left to the High Court, mercy of the High Court, mercy and money of High Court.
If all the matter goes there, if at all the matter goes to higher court.
Right. So apparently you are seeing that there has been a system. Earlier, there was no system. If your builder does something, so, first of all, there was no project where there was any kind of assurance from anyone, no municipality or whosoever. Now here you have a authority to go to. So you've got this much. Now, to this extent, and you just started saying that if you look at the total from the fulfillment of its promises, you are going to give it 5 out of 10, right? Now, so just complete the first part that which states are doing better in its implementation and which states are laggards. One we know West Bengal has just introduced.
So let us divide it into initially 2 parts. One, the states which started implementing RERA from day 1 and states which lagged behind. So in the first part, started implementing RERA, I will say most other than Telangana and West Bengal. These were the two states, and all other states falls other than Northeast and Jammu and Kashmir, because they had a technical problems, as you know. So other than those states started implementing RERA from day one, other than Telangana and West Bengal. Now, West Bengal and Telangana has now started operational RERA has started there. But as you can understand, if it is 6-7 years behind, so it has a lot to do to catch up. And I don't think they are working at that pace to catch up the whatever has happened in last 7 years, because then in that case, you have to bring all the old projects which were not registered. So many things needs to be done. But the good part is better late than never. They've started. In the first category, if you see, there are some states which started doing RERA implementation from day one. The states like Maharashtra, then UP, then Haryana. So these were even Odisha. These were the states which started doing from day one. And then there were other states like Bihar, Jharkhand, Rajasthan. So these were the states. There was some appointment issue which came late, though they made the initial took the initial decision to notify the act. But then the appointment, then registration, this process started pretty late. But these are not very big real estate market. So as you see, even Karnataka started in the beginning nicely. But then later on, if you see, there was no regulator, appointment was not happening. So Karnataka also failed. So there was a delay. So in category within category, if you see, so obviously if you'll find Maharashtra, UP, Gurugram, these were the states which were much ahead. And states like Bihar or maybe Jharkhand or maybe Rajasthan, there were issues with regard to implementation. But these states never said that we will not implement it. Like West Bengal, which said I will not never implement RERA. They started their own state act, and Telangana kept quiet on it. They did nothing. After a lot of pressure from Central Advisory Council, which we have a meeting, we persuaded them. There was a visit from center, and somehow they were persuaded to initiate the process of implementation of RERA. So that is all happening. So this is the state-wise, basically, if you sum up without going much into details, this is the status of the implementation of RERA.
Okay, so that probably takes us to the first part of the issue about setting up RERA, putting the act in action, and registering projects. So that much of processes, mobilizing your resources, basic infrastructure issues are there in place almost nationwide, excepting, as you said, in Northeast India and Jammu and Kashmir. And
now it is there. Now Jammu and Kashmir also RERA is there. Yeah. And Northeast is also most of the states. Yeah.
So from the one side, if we look at it from development side, on the positive side, there has now been at least one authority for real estate. That's better than having no authority. Okay?
Correct.
Now let's go to the second part of the issues. The issues that we have with its implementation. I presume that approving a project is easier part of the whole story, because primary problem with real estate, and given that real estate builder, politics builder nexus has become part of the folklore, and non-delivery of projects has been a huge problem. You're right, from your personal experience or my personal experience, everyone has suffered some way or the other.
Yeah.
So, given that, the dispute resolution process, I mean, in RERA, when you approve a project, you have a time period to complete it. So if you are not completing it, then as a buyer, I am supposed to be compensated, and etc., etc. So we are seeing, when it comes to data, that there has been, Anurag has just said that there has been a 63% rise in project registration. However, if you see that Maharashtra is topping on the project registration part, but when it comes to dispute resolution or disposal of cases, it is a distant third. Now, I find an anomaly here in the focus. Second is, you see, only 3 states are contributing 17% of the disposed cases. So, South India, for example, is a very is quite a real estate active region. So why there is a lesser disposal of cases in that side? But much more importantly, is disposal of cases, does that signify the justice to the home buyer, I mean, is he getting the compensation or whatever based on the direction of the RERA authorities and the appellate authorities? I mean, so far as I understand that in case of consumer courts, there has been a whole lot of issues. Consumer courts gives it orders, but then it is challenged in some other court or etc., and it's not that easy. So now the problem side, what are the issues that is stalling its delivery?
So, the first that, as you rightly said, Maharashtra is project registration wise number one. Now, see, registration wise number one, you can understand because Maharashtra MMR is a big real estate market. And since all projects are much bigger than the limit which is there in the RERA of 8 flats, so that is why all project needs to be registered, and that so you can understand there's nothing much to debate there. Now, second point which you raised with regard to disposal. Now, disposal is, as you know, we cannot take standalone figure. Number one, that so 2-3 angle I'm just trying to give you to explain my point. Number one, that how many complaint has been disposed of. See, let us not take this as any kind of a benchmark. The moment you take this as a benchmark, the authorities will have, without going into detail, summarily pass project because they will compete then because they have to only show that the case has been disposed of. So this is number one. So I don't want to go into that race. Secondly, disposal in itself doesn't mean anything till the time the ultimate home buyer who has filed a complaint gets the justice. So the main actual benchmark should have been how many people who have complained for, say, possession and for refund have actually got this. I've been saying this since after 2 years. I gave 2 years time. After that, I said this should not be the benchmark. However, ministry, because these figures NROC has taken from the Ministry of Housing website. So that website has not been changed, though I have brought it to the notice of ministry that now we should only focus on how many people actually got delivery after the passing of the order, handover they have got, how many people actually got refund. This will tell us what is the efficacy of the order or what is the efficacy of the authority. And then if we see that percentage wise, say Maharashtra is doing better or UP is doing better, then we should pat their back and say you are doing good job. But only by saying that a case has been disposed of. So this, I don't find any meaning to that. Now, coming to the very third angle, Pratim, you will appreciate this. RERA was like Consumer Act. Consumer Act was only curative act. There was no provision to prevent anything. RERA is also a preventive and curative both. So that is why RERA comes into picture from the very first day a project is conceptualized or started, the builder starts selling it. From day one that RERA comes into picture. So my point is we also have to see why so many complaints now. You are there as a preventive body also and then curative. RERA is a preventive and curative both. So the moment you say somebody tops the lid of case disposal, then immediately I start suspecting what is happening there. Why so much cases? Once you have a power, you are monitoring the case from day one. You are getting quarterly updates every quarter for the project. You are uploading that on the website. So why so much of a complaint? What is going wrong and where? So we need to do this analysis. So in my humble submission that, 2-3 things we need to change and this reporting must change. Number one, how many people got actually justice? This we have to talk. Not only project, how many cases has been disposed of. This is number one. Number two, you also must give a data, all the authorities, because they are supposed to give annual report, how many project has been completed within scheduled time. Then only we'll come to know whether authority is effective in its working or not. If project was supposed to be completed within 3 years and 90% of the projects are now being completed within the time frame as given during time of registration, that will show that authority is effective, working, and ground change has come. But till the time we get the data, this in itself standalone figure that this many project completed, this many complaint filed, this is not giving you actual real picture to either compare or to say how effective the regulator has been in the sector.
Fantastic. I fully agree to your point. You are saying that reporting standards must be changed to give it a meaning. And you are very right. I mean, if you are a preventive authority and if, so it means that you have been following the implementation of a real estate project. So suppose it was slipping behind the schedule. So you could have or should have come forward then in there. I mean, instead of waiting for 3 years.
Right, absolute. This is the point. Yes, yes, very
Now,
true.
for the advantage of viewers, let me put it this way. Suppose I have taken a home loan, and my home loan will be, so the banker will distribute or give the money to the builder in phases. Now, if a project at the initial stage of the project, if the RERA authorities or the regulator, let me put it, finds a problem with the builder, and the builder is not in a position to correct it, he can put a stop thereon. In that case, as a home buyer, I will have less money to return to my banker. Because this is an issue where people ultimately land up to. They start giving EMIs, but they don't have the home. This is the exact problem that the home buyer face. So back to now the recommendation part. Why RERA failed? You are saying it's a preventive authority. You are saying it's a curative authority. It is, so if a project fails or if it is not, whatever it is, whatever problem it is, the home buyer is there and there is a court and you are saying it is giving past orders, right? What percentage of home buyers, in your estimation, do get the final justice? And in what amount of time? What are the problems there? Is there a model to work on?
See, what percentage of home buyer, it's very difficult because that kind of a data is not, I can also, you see, many people are giving all kind of a data. So I don't like to talk out of hats that
if you do your own kind of assessment.
So that kind of data, because that basic, you see, there has to be some source data. We cannot be source. FBC cannot be source for that. So
Right.
from source, if that data doesn't come to, how can you, people are estimating. I don't want to put that estimate.
Right.
But yes, I can only say that when I am saying 5 out of 10 marks I would like to give, that means I will not say it is a failed authority. I'm only saying after 7 years, it has managed to pass in second division. So with all the resources, all the powers which you have, especially let me add, and I'm sure you will understand this. If you see SEBI, see the first SEBI act which came into picture, and you will remember SEBI was having no power. In that context, if you see, RERA has been given wide power in the very first enactment. There is no till date there is no amendment. So they have wide powers. So why? And as you rightly said, it is a preventive and curative. Let me add to what you say, add to it. You said that at the time of registration, yes, at the time of registration, if proper scrutiny is done, the authorities can control or foresee where there will be a problem and they can correct that. But even if suppose you have given registration and project somewhere is getting derailed, so you must have that system of getting inputs, and so that you can track and take the corrective action. So even during the course of the thing, if suppose project is delayed by 3 months, you have corrected it, then you can put pressure on the builders to do overtime, second shift, whatever, to complete the project within the scheduled time.
You are saying RERA authorities have that legal provision with them.
Absolutely. They have all the powers. There is no dearth of power.
That's very interesting.
They have all the powers. They can go to the site, they can visit, check, they can have input, they can depute inspectors, they can do everything you can think of with regard to project. They can do everything. They can check quality, check everything. They have the power. There's no problem with that. So now coming to why we have a problem, like as I have mentioned.
So this is the preventive part. They could have prevented the problem at an early stage. This is one part of the story if they are proactive. Now, what about once the problem has been there? So a case has been, a petition, home buyer goes to it for resolution. Then what happens?
So there the thing is, as you know, if you go to authority, so you will be heard of. There are complaints, but let's not go into small 1 or 2 complaints which you are getting against. That is very difficult to go for. But mainly, if you file a complaint, you are getting order within 1 year, within 1.5 years. You are getting orders.
Is the builder following that order?
So that is the big question. There lies the problem. That if there is mostly in case of refund matters, builders are not obeying the orders of the RERA. And there, this matter has been also discussed in the Central Advisory Council constituted by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, where our Honorable Minister himself is a chairman of the committee. So we are looking into that, and we have, when FFC, we have gone and studied the model of Gujarat, where we have they have tried to find a way out,
Just
how they
interrupting
can
you,
ensure
Abhay.
that.
Interrupting you, Abhay.
Yeah.
RERA is a court, an appellate. It's a quasi-judicial body, and it is giving a judicial verdict.
Right.
That recovering, so and so person should pay X amount to so and so person, right?
Right. Right.
Now, ideally, that should be the job of the police or the state administration to implement the court order, as it is in any other court order. So you are saying that the state administration is not implementing that court order, right? RERA order.
Yes. Because the process is, let me just explain you the process. The process is, after I have got the order, I wait for certain time. And if builder doesn't refund me the money, I go back to the authority and tell them that your order has not been followed. Then there is again a process of filing application and all that. And then finally, RERA authority issue a recovery certificate. And that certificate goes to the district collector for recovery of the amount. And there, when it goes once to the DC office, it lies there. There's nothing happening there. Then home buyer, if he goes to RERA authorities, RERA says that I've already sent your RC to the DC office. We can't do anything now.
Can't RERA, if it is not recovered, cannot or shouldn't RERA take a legal action against the particular designated authority who is not implementing that order? Like, can he summon the district magistrate? Can he file a FIR against the district magistrate for not implementing it?
As of now, one major complaint which authorities have been saying, that RERA has not given power to them to summon state government officials. Even if they find, suppose OC has not been properly issued or CC has not been properly issued. So, and this has been recorded in Simi Sika case, where in Gurugram RERA passed by Khandelwalji, that there was a CC issued for incomplete projects. So that there is a recorded order by RERA. And there also the authority was not, it was left to the state government or the judicial authority to take action against them, which was suggested there, that action should be taken. So now, assuming that there is no power, because you see, nobody has done that. And legally, I'm not very competent enough to say this. But what I can only suggest, even suppose you don't have the power to summon them, at least there is a power to give recommendation. You can always go and talk to the respective authorities, call for a meeting, formally, informally, discuss the matters, find out what is the solution. Whether that has happened till date, you can go and meet your state government. You are always supposed to interact with them, give them recommendation. Have you recommended to them what needs to be done if DC office is not acting on this? So now, that is also not happening.
Right. So now I'm bringing you in on that thing you were saying about the advisory committee or something, and you studied the Gujarat model. So what is that?
So it was this was one of the agenda in CAC meeting, that orders are not getting enforced and we are all concerned. So it was decided, why don't even Honorable Minister himself suggested this, why don't we study those states which are doing good in recovery. So it came to my knowledge that Gujarat, the recovery of the RCs, execution of, sorry?
Which states are doing good in recovery?
So that is what we tried to find out, that then because see, if you go by only the figure, some states has given 100 crores, suppose you have recovered.
No,
then again it
doesn't tell anything.
It doesn't tell you exactly. So that is why we tried to find out what is the difference in mechanism. Which state has followed different mechanism. That is how so we found that Gujarat has found a different mechanism. So we studied there. We went to Gujarat. We went to Gujarat Real Estate Authority, had a meeting full day. We understood from them, prepared a report and given it submitted in the CAC meeting. What they have done is they have recommended to state government that they should give a power to one person whom they have appointed as a recovery officer, who is of a district magistrate level. And he will have similar kind of a power. And they have also deputed one Mamlatdar there, who also has power as in Gujarat real recovery of area as area of land revenue. That power has been given. So that is why they have managed to recover most of the penalty which has been levied on the builders. Most of the 99%. That is what they told me, that 98, 90% recovery of penalty has been done.
Oh,
However, recovery of the,
that's a huge
sorry,
step. 98,
huh,
90% recovery is a
of
huge.
the penalty. Pratim, the difference is penalty I am saying, not the what amount has been given to home buyer of refund and impact. There again they have a problem because the order which was issued by the state government, they have withheld power under one of the act. And that is because they are little stuck, which they said they are following up with the state government. If that power also comes to them, then they will be able to do the recovery of the home buyer amount also. So this
No,
is what we
I
had
don't
suggested.
understand. He is recovering the amount from the builder, right?
Builder of the penalty,
And he's not distributing it to the home buyer.
No, that because penalty and refund are two different things. Penalty which goes to the authority only, and amount refund or interest comes to me. So there are two components to it, any order. So
Okay.
recovery portion they are getting it, but with regard to home buyer money, therefore they have to go to the state DC office, but they're following it up. They're following it up. So that is what we had suggested. If we can talk to some 2-3 RERA authorities, can discuss their with the respective state government, and on the model of Gujarat, and say that these are the power which has been withheld in Gujarat. If you can give us this power also, so we can have our own recovery agent as a, and we'll appoint district judge. There's no problem there. Appointment is not a problem, and we can start executing. Now, Pratanda, there may be problem there also. I'm not saying that, but then you see, recovery is a difficult subject. You must be knowing even banks face problem. So we have to go treat the part very cautiously, because the moment if you cross the line, immediately it will be challenged, and then it will become, very long to get that thing issue resolved.
If
So
you get
that is why
into
you have to,
criminal court and etc., so it's going to be very long.
exactly. So that is why you have to treat it very cautiously. And we suggested that why don't state, some authorities, maybe UP, maybe Gujarat, Maharashtra, may go to state government, sit down, find out which are the section power which your recovery agent as a district judge who will be appointed, what are the powers he need, and that same kind of power is given by the state government. Then you can have your own recovery agent, and we can try out this formula. And if suppose this works better than the earlier one, we can continue with this one. Other states can also follow. But because somebody has to take the initiative, take the lead, like the Gujarat has done and shown some success. So we can take this formula and see if we are successful. It is not challenged. Like Gujarat, people have gone to High Court, but High Court has not struck down all those, whatever order Gujarat RERA has passed. And most of the matter has been settled by paying the amount. So that is the beauty of it. Ultimately, builders who have challenged before the High Court are landing paying up the amount. So that means the order has been accepted.
So here we have a case. Thanks. So let me just wrap it up for the benefit of viewers. We have, we are starting with what Abhay said at the end. So here is one case. We are not saying it is the only case, that where the state has given RERA, empowered RERA, and RERA has shown some extra energy to implement the act in letter and spirit. The issue, therefore, is about the will of the state, because it is the state that appoints the RERA authority. So if the state is willing to empower it, it matters a lot. And at the same time, the RERA authorities, they already have the legal provisions to prevent the crime in the building stage. So they can minimize the pain by coming, ensuring that part. If they don't have adequate, legal provision to summon an officer and ensure the recovery, fine. But here again, Abhay has given a perfect example where the High Court has actually stood by the decision of the RERA authorities. So which means we already have a legal precedence to this, right? But keep that apart. Even if RERA cannot summon a, say, district magistrate, it can summon a builder, therefore. And what it is doing with that power? Why can't it stop the project from getting haywire? If it can stop in 6 months, if it can catch the builder in 6 months rather than after 3 years, then many people, consumers can benefit. So I hope with that note, Abhay has given a number 5 out of 10 to the effectiveness of RERA on ground.